Hey YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Welcome to my review for the second wave of the Hasbro Power Rangers Megazord figures. Now, these are a really unique release in that they're kind of standard figure size Megazord figures that capitalize on nostalgia for VHS tapes, which is why I'm going to be taking a look at the box real quick, just because it's considered a feature and I covered it in the first review. And as you can see, they all have really cool box art. I really do like the art they have on here. I wouldn't mind having like a poster of them. They look really cool. And you can see the wave includes a black Gold Dino Megazord, Zord Battle Warrior Mode, White Tiger Zord Warrior Mode, and then the Mega Tigerzord. A very mmpr heavy wave. The first one wasn't so much, as we had actually a little bit of a mix. And even though I like the offerings here, I definitely hope any future waves are a little bit more varied. But anyway, I really do like this art for it, but it's really strange because like the idea is that it's based off of VHS boxes. So when you open it up, you have like this throwback to old VHS tapes, and the idea is like when you recorded things off of the TV and self-labeled them, which, you know, isn't so bad. You know, I get it. It's kind of neat. I appreciate the effort. But as I've said before, this idea is a little bit strange to me just because it feels like a form of nostalgia for something that never existed, because I know they're going for like the idea of making your own VHS tapes, but I think a more successful idea would be, I mean, maybe not going for the nostalgia angle so that we can get Zords released from like Dino Thunder or SPD when VHSs were no longer a thing, but also it might have been neater to have like still have this cool box art, but then open up to reveal a packaging that's a throwback to one of the actual mmpr VHSs from back in the day. Similar to how Bandai did things with the Legacy line. It just seems weird to me because I get what they're going for, but at the same time it reminds me of those Super 7 figures done in the retro style for figures that never had that. It's like a form of nostalgia for something that never exists. Like a Mandela effect for something that nobody remembers or even misremembers. But anyway, I wanted to highlight that. Best thing is, the cool box art is on the front. But now we can start talking about the figures themselves, and I'm going to use our first guy here as a baseline for the articulation and stuff, since they all share the same articulation with really only one note to make in regards to that. And so for the articulation, you do have the ability for the arms to move around 360. The arms can move in and out here. You do have little bits of leg articulation. They kind of move forward and back, but are kind of hindered by this, so your mileage may vary on that. The legs don't bend or anything like that. They do swivel a little bit, and you can swivel the hands, and you can swivel the head, and it can move up and down slightly. So not fully articulated, but decent enough to get some posing going on. And overall, these are actually really nicely molded figures, in my opinion. They kind of go for a little bit closer of a version of what the show suit looks like, which I really like, especially for the mmpr Megazord, which has a little bit of a bulkier head, which is still not exactly right here, but it's not usually accurately represented. Not in a like, fan way, but just kind of in a way that it's kind of funny that we've never gotten it closer to right in a lot of these ways. And I really do dig that. I dig the molds for it. They have nice proportions. I like the idea of ones that are closer to what it looks like in the show. It's not having all the paint and stuff like that, you know, but if you're someone who likes to customize figures, these can be really cool. But they're not also like atrociously underpainted to the point where if you don't care about that, they're not too bad looking, and they're overall pretty decent looking figures. It sucks that this line is kind of very mmpr leaning, or by line I mean this wave, but I honestly personally don't mind the Black Gold Edition Megazord, just because I'm a sucker for the Gold Edition, Black Gold Edition, Black Edition Megazords. I kind of collect those, so it's neat to be able to add one of those to my collection. And then you do have this one little accessory here, which all of them are kind of your standard cheaper PR figures that just have like one color plastic, but it's overall not bad. You have the Mega Tigerzord featuring pretty much largely the same articulation, which honestly this one's not too bad. Sort of like the Dino Megazord itself, I think it has overall accurate representation. You know, the paint's not too bad on it. It's actually kind of nice to have a figure with this one because I feel it's a mode that's kind of underappreciated and underutilized. You know, over the years they've primarily focused on things like the Dino Megazord proper, the Zord, and then the the Tiger Zord, and then, you know, a little bit the Thunder Megazord, but the Warrior Mode doesn't get a lot of attention. So even though, again, this line is mmpr leaning, it's kind of nice to have a little bit of an unconventional figure to represent this mode. It did make me notice how strange the head sculpt is on this, though, where it looks kind of like one of those old barrister wigs. Like, it's a little bit odd. But this isn't my personal favorite of the line because it's not a favorite mode, but I do kind of appreciate that it exists, and it overall doesn't look half bad and continues that same thing I like about the proportions. You know, the weapons has that same sort of cheaper look with the gray plastic here, black plastic here, and it does does separate right here, these two pieces, if you so desire. You have the Tiger Zord Warrior Mode, which is probably my favorite of the bunch, just because it's overall my favorite Megazord of all these designs, but I think it overall looks the best. I think because it doesn't have as many little details, it basically, in my opinion, gets all the major details you need for this. I mean, I'm sure some hardcore people out there are like, he's missing this paint, it's a disaster. But I mean, overall, like compared to the other ones, like right here, you can clearly see that there's kind of more paint missing down here on the legs. Same thing with these. It doesn't look like there's as much missing here because it's primarily just a black and white color scheme with a little bit of gold thrown in. So it looks overall the best. And I think it also really benefits from the look of it trying to replicate the show suit look. And it looks really nice for that. And it's actually one of the nicer White Tiger Zord Warrior Mode figures we've gotten. And I'm really pleased with this. I mean, you do have the back looking rather blank. Kind of applies to all of them, but this one in particular. But again, I mean, live your life how you want, but I can't imagine many people are like, this is how I display them. But anyway, overall, this is probably my favorite one, and probably the one I'd recommend the most, especially if you're a Tiger Zord fan. Well, I feel the Mega Tigerzord is the weakest one. I think it just looks the cheapest compared to them. Like, they all have a little bit of cheapness going on, but they're not meant to be high-end collectibles. But I think compared to the other ones, this one just looks a little cheaper. It comes down to the legs, I think, looking the most cheap. I think that's a carryover from Thunder Megazord, if I recall. Like, these probably have the cheapest looking legs of the set, these two here, but these ones look even worse. Like, I just wish there was a little bit more something, like even if it was just the eyes here or something, it kind of breaks the flow of it. It looks a little bit like they forgot it. It's not a deal breaker, honestly, again, especially if you're somebody that likes to paint figures, but it's definitely noticeable. Also, like the weird proportions here on the tiger head, I think if they made it exactly like this one, it probably would have been ill-proportioned for this form, but it's weird that this one looks so nicely proportioned and painted, and this one looks squished and cheaper. Like, again, I know that probably using the same mold for this would have been impractical, but I think taking some notes from how this one looked would have been nice, and it just seems weird that within the same line, this one looks worse. I just thought that was kind of a noticeable detail. For its weapon, you have this Firebird bit here, has two styles of plastic, which is cool because it's kind of a unique weapon. Some other little minor notes on this guy in regards to him being unique is I've talked about how all the articulation on these are the same, which is true. This one does have the most hindering on the arms, though, as the folded up foot here clashes with his shoulder pad. So technically speaking, it is available. Like, the arm does have that articulation. It's not stiff, but you can't really access it because of the way he's designed. Also, the shoulder pads are separated when you get them, and you have to snap them on, I think, because of fitting it in the box or something. But they snip on real easy, and they don't come off easy, but I just thought that was of note. But yeah, I think this is the weakest link of the bunch for me. Overall, though, guys, I kind of feel similar to this wave as I did about the last one. Honestly, I'm not mad at these figures. I think my only real criticism comes as I feel that they sit in kind of a really weird place, especially with the nostalgia-driven packaging, where they're sort of more of the quality of the kids line with a marketing that leans towards collectors. But honestly, the more I think about it, that's actually not such a bad thing, in the sense that these are, well, maybe a little pricey to some people, are more affordable than a lot of the legacy offerings, and it's kind of nice to get something for retro collectors that is a little bit more affordable and an affordable price range. And they're overall not bad figures. They're a little bit lacking in paint details in some ways, but if you like to paint them or it doesn't matter to you, they're kind of underrated figures that I really don't mind at all. I think they're pretty neat, and I think that I wouldn't recommend them as a must-have, but if you like what you see and you like some of these Megazord forms, I can recommend checking them out. You know, I think they're overall pretty solid for what they are. They do also make me think, though, that they're like one step away from being like pretty cool Lightning Collection Megazords, like just adding a little bit more paint and articulation, and these would make, in my opinion, again, good Lightning Collection Megazord figures because they have the proportions down and they're just one step away, adding to my sort of mixed feelings on where they sit in the collector scale. But yeah, not the best, but not the worst. Not mad at these figures at all. Anyways, guys, that's about it for this one. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Awesome Rider, signing out.